There's the intro. Ahoy! Welcome to the Crow's Nest. This is season 2, episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about like basically communication between yourself and your members, like different ways to handle different situations. And today's Crow's Nest is hosted by Toilet, Emily, Night Valley, Felix, Felicia, Lowcrest, with our special guest Batman, Mei Silentfire. Toilet has been in the SSO community for 11 years and has owned clubs for roughly half that time. Toilet owns Crystal Pirates, co-owns Royal Regiment Dressage, and is also an instructor for the Dressage Academy. Batman is the owner of Asgardian Dressage, founded December 8th, 2024. He has been playing SSO for 5 years, fell in love with Dressage after seeing many clubs practice in the arena and watching their published routines. And then for myself, Felix, I'm a leader and instructor with Crystal Pirates. And then I also instruct with TDA and SSD, and I'm a big advocate for volunteering and community engagement. Craig is in the chat. Okay, first topic should be in the stream right now. What are the different communication methods you use with your members, and how do these compare to the communication strategies you employed when you first began owning your club/team? So maybe we start with the first question. What are the different communication methods you use with your members? Who would like to go first?
I can. Uh, so like when I'm, hold on. What's that? Okay, so the different communication methods I use is to like make sure I utilize my goes and do demonstrations for members who are visual learners, or like do better visually seeing the move than hearing what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also like make sure to like give them clear goes. I'm not hesitating or anything. And if there's something, I don't know, never mind. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and then outside of like dressage, like how do you communicate with your members, like in terms of like announcements or like things like that?
I make sure to make really clear announcements. So
Mm-hmm.
like if there's something going on, like a big event, I make sure to perfectly say clear what the event is. And if it's like in the open server, I will also make sure to like say it's free to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
like a free event, like basically kind of like a meet and greet kind of thing.
Right. So then are there like do you have like a different like style or like things you emphasize like with your members in the closed server versus with like maybe open events with guests attending?
Um, with guests attending, I tend to make everything a little bit more professional.
Mm-hmm.
And with my team personally, sometimes we just have a little fun. I can let my members talk in the, just make sure they're not talking over people.
Mm-hmm.
I let my members talk freely in case they have a question or anything.
Right.
And yeah.
Okay. Nice, nice. That's a good contrast. Toilet, do you
hmm
have thunks?
Yeah. I find it interesting that you went for like dressage lessons with this question. For one of the other questions, I also thought about dressage lessons. Um, for this question, I thought about like announcements, kind of like Felix brought up. And when I was sitting down and thinking, I was like, okay, how do I announce things to the pirates? Like, what do I do? And in my opinion, the two main things that I like to do is announcements via text and then also club meetings or in call. So something that I wrote in my notes was whenever I'm doing announcements via text, I typically try to do that for things that are on like the minor end of the scale when it comes to like what could be understood easily, because I've noticed in the past that when I try to communicate big things that are really like thoughtful over text, some people get confused. So you can still receive feedback with text, but I find that it's easier to do smaller things over text and to do bigger things over call. And I also wrote down some examples of things that I try to communicate via text. So this is like actually taken from the Crystal Pirates closed server from our announcements channel. I went and scrolled through. Typical things that we send over text is competition or showcase routine signups, Pirate of the Month announcement like, hey, go vote, updates to our curriculum, but that's after we've done testing in game during an all crew. And also something we do is for winter or like some certain seasons, we'll do fun hats. So I also send small text like that. And then I've also recently sent a message. I went on LTA, so I sent a message about that. But in comparison to bigger things, like on the bigger end of the scale, That's typically I like to do call or club meetings. Felix, I bet you could talk about that later.
Hmm.
I find club meetings helpful whenever you're doing bigger things because you have to communicate a lot of stuff, and it I don't want to say it kind of gets the point across better when people hear it and they can ask questions in the moment.
Hmm.
And we were talking about this before the call. I feel like the philosophy stuff. In my communication class, I am learning about different communication styles, and whenever we're calling, like we are right now, we're actually doing transactional communication, which is where we're sending and receiving messages whenever we're communicating with each other. And so for bigger things, I find that helpful, which is why I keep saying if it's on the bigger end of the scale, that's where I would do club meetings. And just a little credit, I don't know if you have any thunkies, Felix, after this, but I'm throwing out a bunch of terms that I've learned in my comm class, and it's from Practically Speaking, the 4th edition, which is written by J. Dan Rothwell and published by Oxford University Press in 2023. And I sent the link to the book to Felix, and I think Felix is going to put that in the description.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I don't know if you have any thunkies on that, Felix, or if you'd like me to continue.
Oh yeah, I can add my thanks. Like you were saying, announcements is more like to communicate stuff that is very like straightforward. There's less chances for misunderstanding. Like it's very much like, hey, here's the Pirate of the Month form. Please fill it out and nominate a Pookie you would like to see Pirate of the Month. Here's an announcement confirming some things that we discussed during a meeting, and this is the confirmation that yes, we are going to now make this change or adjust this thing, etc. Or it's kind of like reminding people of things. And then club meetings is where we have a slideshow and we talk about what's coming up, and then the pirates can give us feedback in the moment because we have a thread where they can type in that we can see, or they can unmute and like ask us questions or give their comments like unmuted if they want. So yeah, so like written text communication is more when you can be sure that your meaning is clear and there's less chances of a misunderstanding of what you're trying to say. And also too, like when we make an announcement and it's something that's like new or out of the ordinary, all the captains, so Toilet, Sunny, and I cross check each other's announcement to make sure that we're not forgetting anything, or is the wording a little weird and maybe it could be misinterpreted. So that's also nice if you have staff that can like check your wording for you. Like I have a tendency to write a little bit too corporate because I worked as a manager for a hot minute in a restaurant, so I tend to write corporate. And then Toilet and Sunny can be like, okay, Felix, maybe you can make this a little nicer sounding and not so like businessy, like press release sounding. And I grammar check for Toilet, and then Sunny's really good with cute emojis. So yeah, we kind of all help each other balance those things out. And then some other ways that we communicate with the members, besides the announcements channels and the club meetings, is we have a timeful is what we used to schedule. So every week, Sunny is our attendance manager. She sends out the timeful and people put in their availability for the week. So our schedule changes week by week depending on when the pirates are available for practices and events, and we schedule based on that. So that's a way for them to communicate to us when they're available. And then from the pirates, they have emoji reactions with each practice and event where they can say yes, maybe no, or late. So then we can kind of at a glance know how many people are coming to something. So if we need to adjust a practice, for example, because more people are coming or less people are coming. We also have our absent form channel. So if they can't make a practice or event for that day, then they can put their little message in there, or they can put in absent forms in advance. So say, for example, they're like, I know I'm going to be away this weekend. They get on the Monday, they could put their absent form in, for example. So maybe they're afraid they'll forget, they'll put it in ahead of time. And then the captains also put in STs, LTAs. So it's like a way of us to like say that we're not exempt from the system, like we also participate in it to make it more fair, I guess. And then we also have our STA, LTA channel. So that's for short-term absence, long-term absence. So this is from 3 days up to 8 weeks. People can be on break. And then Sunny tracks this on our attendance spreadsheet. And that is also, all the pirates can see that. So if they're wondering like, hey, I haven't seen Goopy, our beloved Goopy was on LTA for a bit before they became a mascot. They're like, where has Goopy been? They can go on the attendance sheet and see that Goose is right now on an LTA of 3 weeks, for example. And then we have feedback forms. So we try to, after every club meeting, we send out, after we finish a competition, whether it's a comp routine or showcase routine, we send out the routine feedback form. And then we also have a general feedback form that we try to send out after every club meeting. And then we also have an instructor feedback form for our baby instructors. So we tried to like collect as much feedback as possible because that helped us improve. So yes, those are the ones that I thought of.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that, Felix. Whenever I was looking through the notes, I was like, oh yeah, Felix summarized all these things really well. I'm
Oh,
not sure if you have anything similar, Batman,
one
within
more
your.
one more feedback we asked for that we just started doing recently is an exit interview. So this just basically means
Oh, yes.
when a member leaves for whatever reason, like maybe the environment was not right for them and they're applying to a different club, or maybe their life got busy and they have to step down and become a mascot, which is basically like an honorary member, I guess. We asked them like a series of questions about their experience in the club, like um, what did they like, what did they enjoy the most, what were some like rough points for them that maybe they didn't like so much. Do they have any feedback for us as a staff team or like the overall environment kind of thing, just to help us like improve over time, that sort of thing.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I agree. I'm doing the like nodding my head thing.
Do you have
I have
any?
some.
Oh, do you have additional thoughts to it? I was gonna
I have
ask
additional
Batman
thoughts,
if they have additional
but yeah,
thoughts.
you can ask Batman first.
Okay. Do you have any additional thoughts on like communication avenues, Batman? Now that we've yapped a bit.
Um, no, not really.
No, that's all right. Okay,
Having
toilet.
a brain fart.
Floor is yours.
Yeah, no, not really.
Okay. Sunny, I think Sunny's in the call right now. I just remember something you said, Felix, like how we as the captains also submit absent forms and LTA. Apparently, not a lot of clubs and teams do that. Like, apparently, like Sunny was like, in past club captains, like the owners and leaders never submitted absent forms, and Sunny was like, "This is crazy," and I was never aware of that, and I learned that through Sunny, and that was really eye-opening for me. So that was something that I thought about, but something else I had in my notes is that we write things out in detail.
Mm.
We're actually we made a few changes, and so I'm working on an updated attendance information channel right now. But we have our systems written out in great detail, and also like throughout your experience being in Crystal Pirates, you kind of pick things up, even though we're not 100% communicating with you. Like, hey, this is how it works. Just over
Hmm.
time, you pick up things. So there's like this weird layer of communication happening, even though we're not constantly talking back and forth with everyone. So I found that very interesting.
Oh, and that reminds me of like when we have new members join, they get a big pirate. Like they're a little pirate and they
Mm-hmm.
have a big pirate assigned to them that kind of helps them learn the ropes. And I feel too that kind of helps with like when you first join, there is so much in the closed server.
Yeah, it's a
So we when they first join, we kind of send a big message with like the important points of like you should check out like this explains the trial period, and then this explains attendance, and then this explains like which things you should attend kind of thing. So it's kind of like a overview of like the important bits, but then your big part is there if you have any clarifying questions, um, or if you're like, hey, could you like walk me through the what's going on here? This is a lot. And then also always the captains are available. We have a questions channel. They can DM us, but the big part kind of also helps people ease in. And then like Toy was saying, we are updating our attendance expectations like information channel, and then also our uh, comp expectations channel, because every time that we have a club meeting or like every time that we have something happening, I want to say almost every time somebody gives us feedback and they're like, I didn't quite understand, or we noticed something and we're like, I don't think we explained this clearly because people are doing things in an unexpected fashion. So then it's like, okay, how can we clarify more, or how can we solicit feedback during a club meeting? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it just helps us improve every time that we can have that like back and forth interaction with the pirates. It just makes everything better. It's like the galaxy brain meme, or the it's like
The neurons
each
are
stage.
firing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's so good. Oh my gosh, that reminded me of my formats. I love formats. That
Mm.
is one of my strengths. I love making formats, and that's helped with communication a lot. Like Felix mentioned, we have a format that we send out when new people join, and like the exit interview, like we have formats that we like to follow, and that helps with the communication process. And so that's what I was thinking about whenever you said that.
Sunny is
I
also
love my
doing
formats.
redoing the STA LTA formats, so those are gonna
Yes,
be
to go with
spiffy.
the updated attendance information channel. I'm excited to see what emojis Sunny puts in them.
Yeah.
Because they
Um,
all have cute little emojis.
Batman, was there a time where like you got feedback from your team members and that kind of helped you make changes or improvements to like any communication that you did with them?
I was saying that basically AD is still fairly new, and that AD really doesn't have much members, so I don't think nobody has really needed to ask me anything
Hmm.
so far.
Was there ever like a point like
But
maybe you were discussing with staff and you guys kind of like reorganized stuff a bit or
I'm yeah, sometimes like
Mhm.
occasionally, like if we need to change something around, like for example, trying to think of an example. Uh-oh, brain farting. Um, oh, something needs to be done in the open server.
Mhm.
Then we'll usually host a meeting about that,
Okay.
and then vote on which and what needs to be done, which is more important, and what needs to be done first.
Okay, so you do like a priority list.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah, I totally agree.
Hmm.
Poor Toilet has a to-do list in the quarter deck, and Sunny and I
I was
sometimes
just about to
throw
talk
stuff
about that.
into her to-do list.
I have a mile long to-do list and I just recently started like doing priorities. So like yellow is like in progress or I put a little flag by what's most important to me and sometimes I'll number it. So I feel yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I do that with my to-do list, numbering which one I think is most important, which one I could wait to work on, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think what's been helpful too, I think we've mentioned this in previous episodes, is that we have like junior staff positions. So um like Pookies that do small jobs, like Star is our weekly agenda Pookie. So Toilet used to do the weekly agenda, and now Star is in charge and does a great job, and that kind of takes some work off Toilet's to do. Our junior staff Pookies helping out like that.
Yes. They're awesome.
Wheel with the diagrams and
Operation
Pablito with
Village.
the
Weekly
Canva.
agenda Canva. Yes.
Uh-huh.
So we have something to post on socials, and they're always so funny too. The
Yeah.
themes on the Canva, they're
Oh.
awesome.
Alrighty. Do we have any further thunks about this first topic?
I have some more thunkies.
Go for it.
My last two little notes that I have on my end is that this is another thing from the Practically Speaking
Hmm.
book, but trying to find an end goal of like trying to find a shared meaning, which means both the speaker and the receivers. So, for example, at a club meeting, the person talking, the staff member, you get shared meaning with the people listening, so your club mates, your club members.
Hmm.
So whenever the speaker and the receiver have a mutual understanding of the message, which kind of goes back to what I said of if it's something bigger, it might be better to call so you can get that shared meaning. But if it's smaller stuff, like the part of the month voting, you can typically get that done with text messages.
Mm.
And the last little bit that I had was the second half. The second little bit of the question was like, how do these compare to when you first began owning? And I went back through the announcements channel and I dug to the very
Yep.
tippity top. And when we first began, I was younger, obviously, and I noticed that I focused heavily on written communication. Like almost everything was
Mm.
written. Like, okay, here's a very, really big paragraph. Hope
Mm.
everybody reads that. Nobody typically does. You gotta
Mm-mm.
organize it. But I would send out paragraphs upon paragraphs, or it would just be like a quick message like, hey guys, make sure you meet attendance at everybody. So I've definitely grown in that aspect, but it was interesting looking back on how it was mostly written communication versus now where it's kind of a mix of written and verbal communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, and voice memos help with that a lot.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much that tone communicates versus just text. And even if you use tone tags, sometimes it's not always 100% clear. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
the when you can hear a person's voice and their tone of voice and the inflection and all that good jazz is very different from um,
Yes.
verbal or written communication, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, are we ready to move on to the next topic?
Yes,
All
I'm
right,
ready.
enjoy my boomer moment while I switch this over. It worked. It worked! Oh my goodness, how exciting. All right.
Yay.
Okay, who would like to begin with this one. So it's what do you do when miscommunication happens, and then what are like your strategies or the ways that you resolve things. And this can be between members of the staff team, between the staff team and the club team members, or between club team members. Who would like to begin?
I can start us off.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes. Okay, this is the question where Batman mentioned earlier, like in lessons. This is where I also had a note about that.
Mm-hmm.
How miscommunication can happen in text and calling, but also during practices.
Mm.
And a small note that I had, this is at the bottom of my notes, but a miscommunication can happen in practices, like in the form of an instructor misspeaking, or also a member can ask a question like backwards, which can make it a bit confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found in these moments, I like to just take a pause, take a breather, you're fine, reset, and try again.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did this yesterday. Felix, you were there. I just came off an LTA, first time teaching in like a week, and we were at CC, Countdown Corsairs Explorers. And I kept saying, okay, we're going to do a dodge set, but I actually wanted us to do a combo set. And so I literally was like face palming.
Yeah.
And I had to just take a second, breathe. And then I was like, okay, we're doing a combo. And then I would write it in the chat so that I could remember, or I'd put it in my lesson plan
Mm-hmm.
tracking that I have in my storage server.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's good with that too is like when you make a mistake, whether it's you're instructing or maybe you misspelled something in an announcement or forgot to add something or things are in the wrong order, any type of communication, if you make a mistake, like just own up to it. Say like, oh my bad, I didn't mean to do that, or oh my brain is not braining today, let's try that again. It just makes you seem more human. You also make mistakes, totally normal. And I think it also helps your members more comfortable with making mistakes themselves if you are like open to your own mistakes, like you own up to them. You're like, yeah, it happens to me too, I'm not perfect, I'm also a human being, I make mistakes, it's how we learn. So yeah, it's nice if you can do that. I'll talk a bit about what I think about when miscommunication happens, whether for any reason. So I think what's important here is to like try to get a grasp on every angle of the situation. So like say maybe like some people are like more sarcastic when they joke, and some people like take things very literally. Like we've had that happen before amongst the pirates. So it's kind of like trying to understand every side. Like maybe you have a better understanding of one member because they've been in the club or the team for a long time, and they're just sarcastic. Their jokes are sarcastic. Their tone of voice is sarcastic. They're not doing it to be mean. They're just a sarcastic person. But maybe you have a new Pookie who joins who maybe doesn't have much exposure to that, or maybe they're a little bit neurospicy and they don't understand sarcasm very well, and they come to you and they're like, hey, this person's making really mean jokes. And you're like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Can you tell me a bit about it? And they tell you a bit about it. And you're like, okay, let me talk to this other person. And then you get everybody's point of view, and then you do your best to kind of like help everybody understand everybody else, all the different communication styles, try to make everybody come to like a middle ground and like understand each other nicely. So yeah, so it's like, how can you get everybody's point of view? Even if it's like not the involved parties or the other people there, like can you get their point of view of what happened? Are there any other screenshots or recordings that you have access to? So as much information as you can gather can be helpful in sort of getting the overall picture instead of only seeing things from one angle that maybe kind of clouds your judgment because you don't have enough information, for example.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have a follow-up question for you, Felix. Has there ever been a situation where you were unable to get somebody's perspective? And if so, what did you do or what would you do?
Oh man, yes. This was at work. Brief work story when I was managing the restaurant. We had one employee who was not being very forthcoming when they had to take time off, and sometimes it was last minute. They would call in, and then we had another employee who was like, "Hey, I know why they're taking time off. It's for this reason." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, that's not very good." And then so I went to the other person. I was like, "Hey, like I got some information. I did mention who told it to me, but I've heard that this is why you're taking time off last minute. And they just stonewalled me and wouldn't say anything. So I was like, well, if you're not going to be honest with me, like, there's not much I can
Mm-hmm.
do, and we're going to have to put you on probation. Like, if you're not showing up to work on time, then we might just have to fire you eventually. It was not fun.
Mm-mm.
I think that's less likely to happen in SSO unless there's really bad like drama happening. I feel like if you could keep your finger on the pulse of like the group overall, you can kind of like head that off early and not let it get too
Mm-hmm.
explosive. And part of that too is just like how often can you communicate with your members and your staff team? Just keep those open channels of communication so you can see that stuff early and try to get everybody's perspectives on things. So you can smooth things over
Yeah.
before it gets too like, oh my goodness, there's a dumpster fire right now. Uh-oh, we have to call in the fire
Yeah.
department. This is not good.
Something that I'm thinking about right now is that, like, in the past, we've had trials join and then they
Mm,
end up leaving without communicating.
mm,
And that's kind of a scenario where you never get their side, they just kind of leave.
yeah,
It's kind of like the saying, like, the door shut itself, so you kind of just have to move on, kind of thing.
yeah. Which I think is the exit interview is helpful. Not everybody will want to do it because they've already checked out, they've left the club, they're like, I'm already on to my next thing. But some pookies are like, yeah, I want to give you guys my feedback. Thank you for asking. And sometimes it's like they tell you something and it hurts a bit because you're like you feel like you failed them. But I think it's good because it allows you to like reflect and grow and improve, and maybe sometimes too like the feedback they give you it hurts because you feel like you didn't do a good job, but then you might also realize like I couldn't fulfill what they needed for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like, there's so many options for clubs and teams on SSO that maybe your club or team just wasn't the right place for them. But like, you still appreciate the feedback they give you because it's their own unique perspective on how they experience things. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So then that's what that's where it's like when you get feedback or if miscommunication happens, you separate yourself as a person, you versus yourself as the owner of the club or team. Your role as the owner or club as the club as the owner is receiving the feedback. It's not an attack personally on you as an individual. It's feedback to you as the owner. So it's like if you can separate those two parts of yourself, then you can have more of like an objective view. Or yeah, it's
Yeah, I
more about
agree.
your
In the
leadership
past.
skills. It's not they're not attacking you
Yeah.
as a person, and you improve over time. No one is perfect, so all that good jazz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have any thunks, Batman, about how you handle miscommunication?
Like when miscommunication occurs, I usually like reassure the writers before hosting the line,
Mm-hmm.
and then re-demonstrating if multiple times if I have
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that they are confident with the move before continuing on again. For this, I like to use Think Trevor Tiger's motto,
Mm-hmm.
forget the mistake, remember the lesson,
That's a good one.
because I find it really helpful,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it is a really good one. Um, uh, brain fart, whoa, and like yeah, reassure them, and then get them back on track again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if they need extra help outside of lesson time, I offer AD offers like private lessons
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
help members to like yeah better their dressage.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word I'm looking for.
And do you find that like
Improve their dressage.
the way that you like instruct is different in like a group lesson versus a private lesson? Like, do you have like different like strategies for teaching based on how many people are there, kind of thing? If it's more like it's your group versus just one person or two people, for example.
I believe so. I'm not really too sure myself. I'd have to ask other members to
Mm-hmm.
see what they think. But um, I might have different teaching styles depending on how many people were there.
Mm-hmm.
It really all depends, I guess, on what
Yeah.
other people think. Because me personally, I don't really, I wouldn't know until I asked somebody.
Right, right. And that might be fun. You can ask your members, hey, like how is the environment for you in a group lesson versus a private lesson? Maybe you get some interesting insights there. That's fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. you have any further miscommunication thunks, Toilet?
Yes, I have thunkies. I feel like we've touched on this in past Crow's Nest, but things
Mm-hmm.
kind of change depending on what scenario you're in. But whenever I was sitting down to think about this question, I was just thinking about smaller general miscommunications,
Mm-hmm.
such as like I announced the wrong date, or I misspelled something, or I accidentally swapped somebody's name, or I forgot to include a deadline. And in those smaller situations, it's easy to just go back and re-ping everybody and say, hey, I made a buki. I edited the original message. Here's the part I decided to change, and just kind of fill in those gaps.
Mm.
And what I find is that you become aware of whenever you miscommunicate because people tend to ask questions
Mm.
or point something out. Like I've sent some announcements before, and then the question suggestions channel on the closed server blows up, and I'm like, okay, I did a terrible job of explaining this, so let's try it again, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And the pirates are
Or I'll
pretty
open
good
a
about too
thread.
about being funny about that. They're like, "Did you mean this? Like, what?"
Yeah, yeah. I remember misspelling stuff in announcements all the time, and people screenshot it and be like, you misspelled this." I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go back and edit it. Sunny's always good about that. Sunny catches it and sends it to me, and I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And to get a little poetic, loved by Taylor Swift, she has this awesome quote that I always keep in the back of my head. It's from a song called Peter, and it's "Love's never lost when perspective is earned." And I find that really moving because if just in general, if you want to fix miscommunication, it's going to take some time. Like Felix, you mentioned getting everybody's perspective to kind of decide how you're going to go forward. It takes time, you have to earn it, but if people are willing to give you their perspective, that typically means that you're going to come to a resolution. It may not be what you want, but
Yes.
as long as you give it your best shot, it will most likely work out in the end. At least that's what I like to think. I'm very much an
And
optimistic person, though.
I think too, if your members are comfortable with like asking those clarifying questions or being like, "Did you mean this? Like, I think that time is wrong or that date is wrong," then that shows that they're comfortable like questioning you and not just like accepting your word like you're the gods on Mount Olympus being like, hear ye, these are the announcements of the day, and do not question me because
Hmm.
I am all powerful.
Yeah.
So if they're comfortable like asking those questions or asking for clarification, it means that you're likely doing a good job of being like approachable and someone they feel comfortable talking to. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm thinking about right now college professors. Some of my friends, they're like, "Oh, this college professor is so like kind of like what you just mentioned. They don't want to ask questions because they're
Mm.
like, "Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?" But
Mm-hmm.
there's also some professors, like I have a professor where you could just go talk about your day with him and he's really nice and he'll sit down and chat with you, and
Mm.
I feel very comfortable asking him questions. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I TA for 2 classes at my university, and it's so funny because like at the beginning of the semester, like some of the undergrads are like afraid of the TAs. It's like, hey, just come to my office hours. I promise I will not eat you. You can ask
Mhm.
questions about the class material, or maybe you don't know how to use the university library. I can hook you up. Like, don't worry.
I got you, fam.
It's not that scary, I promise.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think too, like the more like open you can be and accepting of questions and feedback and all that, then it it helps reduce the amount of miscommunication because you have that open like highway of like back and forth of like, you ask me questions, I answer. I ask you questions, you answer. We get to know each
Mhm.
other better. Yay, how exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I have one more thing in my notey notes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know sometimes whenever I get into a headspace and I'm like, something's going wrong, but I don't know what's going wrong,
Yeah.
like trying to notice the pattern.
Mm.
Like I wrote down, if you notice that you're miscommunicating on the same thing, like maybe your practice announcement format is a little awkwardly worded and maybe you need to change that, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Just writing down where the quote unquote pain point is so that
Yeah.
you can go back and address it with yourself later.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point because like it's kind of hard to like realize that you're doing something maybe not in the most efficient or best way or that communicates in the most straightforward manner, and it can kind of be like, oh, I'm not doing a good job. You get a little down on yourself. But where there's pain or like hurdles, that's an opportunity for growth and to
Mm-hmm.
improve. And it is uncomfortable when you get there and you're like, oh, I need to make these changes. But it's like it's good. It's giving you a chance to improve your communication style in this case. So and then there's like different ways you can like hype yourself up for this. I usually will put on some Pitbull when I'm like, okay, I need to do
No,
this thing.
dale.
Put on some Pitbull. Yeah, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305, or some Do a Peep or whatever, some Zara Larson. Get a good playlist going to motivate yourself, or like sometimes we'll be in the quarter deck together, just all deafened, but like we're in the call together and working on stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so not just the captains, but some of the other staff will join us sometimes too, and we're all just kind of working. And if we have a questions, we can just like type in the call chat, be like, hey, I have a question about this, and then the two people unmute and chat, and then they deafen again. So it's like, what are some things you can use to motivate yourself to get through those like pain points or those more difficult, tricky things? And yeah, who can you reach out to help? Sometimes I just talk to my cat, and he looks at me like, huh? But sometimes that's helpful.
I do that for my speeches when I'm practicing a speech. I get my Kermit stuffed animal and I place it on my little thing, and then I said, "Okay, Kermit, listen to my speech." I do the same thing.
That's so cute. Um, I just look at my notes. I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that when miscommunication occurs between two members of the club, whether it's two members of staff and a club member, or two club members, then what we try to do is we try to gather as much information as we can. We discuss in call together. We try to like discuss with the affected parties in call if possible, because again, tone verbally is different from tone over text. And then the captains again convene and we go, okay, what are the potential options moving forward? And we try to give at least like three, because I find that instead of like dictating, like, hey, we've tried to see what's going on, this is what we think, and this is what is going to happen. You only have one choice. Well, you have no choice. This is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can give at least like two or three options, then they can decide. Like, uh, or maybe they go like, I kind of like option two, but maybe can we change it a little? So like, if you can offer them more flexibility in like moving forward, again, it makes things like less of like a dictatorship from the owners or the HRs to the members, and it's more of like a collaborative kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. There's like a bit of telephone to it, but it's not exactly telephone because you're getting people's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a telephone situation where it was like person A said this and you have to
Yes.
go tell person B, and then person B says something and you have to go tell person A. I don't think that is an effective form of communication,
Uh-huh.
but being the like middleman as a staff member is very beneficial.
Yeah. And so we also try to keep things organized, like with threads or with forum posts. Like we try to like not lose track of what we're discussing. And then also too,
Mm-hmm.
we sometimes we mess up, but we do our best to like ask for permission. So like if a member comes to us with a concern, we go, hey, is it okay if I share screenshots of what you told me with the other captains? And if they're not comfortable with that, we'll just like do a summary that we type out of what they said. Same thing if they send us a voice note. Are you comfortable with me sharing your voice note with the captain? So we always try to ask if they're okay with us sharing what they've communicated in private over a DM with the other HRs. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's important as well. Because maybe they said something privately to you and they don't want that passed on to other people. Like maybe
Yeah.
they're a bit more comfortable with you, or and they would just rather you like type out a summary, for example.
Some
Um,
people I feel like also just like to just be heard. Like they may
yes.
not want a resolution, but they just want to be heard.
Hmm. And I think too that comes with like experience, like the more that you own or like the more members that you interact with, you kind of get a feeling of like who just needs to like vent privately to me in DMs right now and who wants me to actually like come up with some sort of resolution or like they want action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to straight up ask them, hey, like, are you just venting to me right now? Like, you need somebody to listen
Yeah.
to you and just kind of go, oh, I'm so sorry this is happening. Or do you want me to work with the other staff members to kind of figure out how can we improve things? You know, so then
Mm-hmm.
again, instead of guessing, just ask. Be like, hey, what would you like?
Yep.
All right. Do we have any further thoughts about topic two?
I'm Gookie.
I'm doing a little interpretive dance in front of my desk right now.
I'm also shimmying my shoulders.
Any questions or comments about coming to. Do you have any other thoughts, Batman, about this one?
Nope.
Okay, all right, let's go on to topic three. Boomer moment again for me while I change the slide. Okay, success. Alrighty. So this one, oh, Discord, please. Okay. How transparent are you with your members when it comes to internal club team decisions and policies? So, like, say, for example, like, as you're thinking of a change that you want to make, do you solicit feedback during that process, or is it just kind of like behind the scenes, you and the staff decide on something, or maybe just you and your co-owner or you and your leaders decide on something and you're just like, ta-da! Or do you try to incorporate member feedback throughout, or maybe even like community feedback, like your guests, maybe if it's something that's like a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more broad kind of thing. Who would like to begin on this one?
AD, I try to make. Oh, my
Yeah,
phone.
go for it, Batman. Go for it.
Oh, I try to make like announcements in AD as clear as possible.
hmm
Though sometimes it can be a little bit hard doing that. Um, our announcements channel is mainly for like staff decisions or like decisions that are made by the staff team.
hmm
But like any other like smaller like changes in other things we do in team meetings
hmm
where the whole team can come and choose different options
hmm
and like when like like kind of um like a poll kind of thing,
Yeah.
and they can pick whatever one that they think fits best.
hmm
uh and like if there's any questions or anything after that, like their members are allowed to speak up, send a message in the questions channel, or like talk to me in DMs.
Nice. So like you kind of like gather information through a team meeting, and then based on like what you received, you kind of then formulate like the overall change or uh, update or what have you, and then you send that out in the announcements channel after you've gathered info from your members.
Yeah.
Cool. 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 Do you have Thunk's toilet?
Yes. I stole this word from you, Felix.
Oh,
I looked at your notes and you
hey,
said transparency.
hey,
I was like, I
hey,
like that word,
hey.
so credit to Felix. But yeah, Crystal Pirates is definitely big on transparency. I don't know if you want to talk your notes first, Felix, and I can give my story if you want me to go first.
Yeah, I think it's just good to err on the side of transparency rather than being more like opaque, like muddy, like I don't know what's going on here. It's as clear as a pane of glass. Well, maybe not that clear, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, that reduces the chances for miscommunication if you're more transparent. It makes the club or team feel more like a community rather than like the gods on high on Mount Olympus going like, "All right, mortals, this is what we're doing. No questions from you." And then rather than like a business where like the owner or manager is just giving you orders and just like you have to do it because they're paying you to do that. Um, you instead solicit feedback or questions or comments from your members, and it's more communal. It's more like a group project rather than like, yeah, like a dictator at the top going, you do this, you say what you do what I tell you to do, no questions, no
Mm-hmm.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we are definitely big on transparency. And when I was thinking about this question, I thought back to high school. In high school, I was president of the student government. And for some context, I was the type of person who, and I still kind of do this, Sunny and Felix, you guys can attest to this. I still kind of do this. I do this a lot. I'm aware of it. But I was the type of person who was like, okay, if we're going to make a change, like no matter how small or how big it was, I was like, I need to go talk to every single officer. And there was like 10 people and see what they think about it and make
Mm.
sure that we're all on the same page. And it was good, but I still do this a lot. Like I'm still like, Felix, Sunny, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? But as I have grown up a little bit, I've noticed that not every single little thing needs to get an okay from everybody. Like,
Mm.
what colored leg wraps are we wearing at practice? You don't need to ask every single staff member, hey, what colored leg wrap should we wear at practice? You can just decide, kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, and like Felix mentioned, the quarter deck, the staff, we like to talk to our members about the majority of things we do. like I mentioned earlier, we announce comp showcases, trial batches, all that stuff, but we also try to give updates like where people are in the curriculum, and we're constantly telling the crew like, hey, here's what we have going on. And Felix, you mentioned this earlier, like the junior staff, they like to come stalk our calls in the staff server or just hang out and work on stuff. And we also, something interesting, I feel like other clubs and teams do this, but the younger ranks are allowed to watch the older ranks practices. Like they can be soccer moms in the stands. I'm pretty sure most clubs or teams do that. But when I was sitting down and thinking about transparency, I was reminded about that. Like even just within practices, we're like, heck yeah, come be our stalker. Come see what is going on.
Mm-hmm. And even the trials can come do that. Like they can come to like the higher rank practices. They can come to any like competition or showcase routines, and they can watch in stands or they can follow on foot. They can meatball. So it's like, yeah, come and see everything. You can come to everything. Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
as much as you want to do, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's awesome. And I mentioned earlier we have a questions suggestions channel in the closed server. And the pirates are always free to poke us there and be like, hey, I need clarification, or hey, I have a suggestion, and we're always free to answer questions there. And let me scroll down. Ooh, this one was a big one. At one of our past club meetings, I think it was 3 club meetings ago. This is recently new,
Mhm.
a few months old. I think it was Wheel suggested a current projects channel, which is where we have a list of the ranks and then also all crew, and I note down what projects are happening and the dates so that everybody can go there and see what's happening, not just the staff. And like Felix mentioned, we do club meetings every so often, and that's when we take the time to update the current projects channel.
Yeah, we try to do a club meeting at least quarterly, so every 3 months, or especially when we've just finished like a big all crew routine, like we just wrapped up Hoedown Showdown, so that kind of triggered a club meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like then we discuss like, okay, we just finished a routine. How did you guys feel about it? So like this time, for example, we talked about like, do we want to change our attendance expectations for mains and alts and god alts? Do we want to change? We had an honorable mention credit, so it's like if you contributed to the routine but you didn't attend enough practices to get the alt credit, you get the honorable mention credit. Some of the pirates didn't like that label, so we had a poll, and then they decided on additional contributors, which is our new label for pirates who contributed to the routine but were not there as much as an alt needs to be, for example. And then we were like, okay, what do we want to work on next? So we had some options. Do we want to do a showcase routine? Do we want to commit to another big all crew? And then what we decided on is we're going to work on filming a new intro for YouTube videos. So
Yes.
Toilet is cooking
I'm
on
so
that.
excited for that.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we talked about our attendance updates, and we had 2 ongoing mini routines. So Will talked about the Hushed Hunt, and then Pablo talked about our showcase for Moonlit Marauders. And then what was the third thing? Oh yeah, our upcoming trial batch. We talked about the timeline for that, and then potential trial batch names. So it's like it was kind of like, okay, we had all this stuff happen over the past 3 months. We've wrapped up this big routine. Here's what's on the horizon for the next 3-4 months. What are your guys' thoughts? So it's kind of like what we foresaw as captains, and then we're like, what are your guys' thoughts on this upcoming stuff? Do you have any other ideas? That sort of thing. So yeah, it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
nice to kind of like ask for feedback like that in the moment during the meeting, and then we record it, and if people couldn't be there, they can watch it, and then we have a thread, and they can leave their thoughts, we have polls, and all that good jazz. Feedback
Yeah.
forms.
At the end of the year, we also do a goals planning
Mm,
as a part of the club meeting. Every year we kind of set some goals that we'd like to achieve as a club. So I'm also reminded of that.
yeah, that's a good one. That's like a nice like wrap up to the end of the
Mm-hmm.
year. It's kind of like this is what we accomplished this year. What are our goals for next year?
Yeah, now what do we want to slay next year?
Yeah. So it's kind of like you encourage all the members to like participate in the goal planning and the goal achieving instead of just kind of like holding your cards close to your chest and being like, yeah, I want to do this, but you don't tell them about it. You let
Mm-hmm.
them in. You let them in on the goals.
Yes. Let me see. Ooh, something else that I had not maybe I don't think a lot of people know about this because every time I say the yappening, people are like, "What is that?" For context, the captains within Crystal Pirates, me, Felix, Sunny, we have this thing called the yappening, which is a weekly captain call. And when I was looking at this question, sitting down thinking about it, it's also I felt like it was important to note that during the yappening, our captain calls, we plan to discuss a lot of changes in depth. Like the last one, how long did we
It
talk
was
in the
like
last
two and
one?
a
It
half
was like
hours. We just kept
two and a
going.
half hours. Yeah. We talk about things in depth, really deep. And after we've discussed it and narrowed down our thoughts, then we typically take it to the crew and say, hey, here's what we think. And what was it last time we were thinking? I was looking at the attendance sheet and I was like, we should change this. And then we started talking. I was like, no, I think we should change it. And then Felix said something. I was like, actually, no, I like it. So sometimes we go in circles, but it's part of the fun.
Yeah.
And I really like our yappenings. They're really awesome. And I find it's a nice middle ground between not overloading the pirates with, hey, here is every single little thing we're doing. Like I did in high school, I would tell every single person what we were doing, which is not really effective. And it kind of allows us to filter out the big stuff and organize our thoughts so that we can get it to the crew.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of like we're like the sieve at the top,
Mm-hmm.
sifting out all the things that are not relevant at this time, or maybe like we hashed it out to make more sense, and then only the finest flour that gets through is what goes to the pirates for their consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me see. I have one last note about the
Hmm.
open server. I I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this really well, that the transparency that we have in the closed server is also visible in the open server. And an example that I was thinking about was a lot of time people will go into the questions channel and say like, hey, when are applications opening next? And we're really good about timelining out stuff, like with our club meetings. And we could typically say, hey, they're going to open in April or they're going to open in 1 to 2 months on date, stuff like that. I feel like a lot of clubs and teams, and they just say they're closed, just wait when they open next. So I feel like we're good about having transparency with the open server Pookies as well. And we're honest about like, hey, we haven't even begun planning for the next batch. We don't know yet. Or we'll go back and follow up with them and say, hey, we sat down and planned some stuff out. Now I can give you some more details on the timeline, that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And like an example of that is like our superiors, so our Pookies that chat more, that are level 5 in the server, they can suggest or request topics for open lessons that they'd like to see from us, like
Mm-hmm.
open dressage lessons or open events. So it's kind of like another way to like incorporate the community or ask for their what they would like to see in terms of like open server stuff. And we
Mm-hmm.
have our open port practices too,
Yes, you just
which
finished
is
those. Mm-hmm.
where we try to at least a couple times a month we'll be in the open server in call for our regular curriculum practices, so anybody can come and watch and listen and see how we do the Crystal Pirates modifier curriculum. Um, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
alrighty. Do we have any further songs on the final topic?
Nope.
I'm Gookie Guacamole.
All right, yippee! What about the audience? Is the audience
Yeah,
satisfied?
is the audience
We need a
satisfied?
baguette. Jenny is not here. We need a baguette if the audience. Yeah, send a baguette if you're satisfied, or a bread type object. Can't find the baguette emoji. I am satisfied. Yay!
Yay!
Already. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll finish there. Thank you to everybody who
Yay!
listened in the audience, and thank you to everybody who listens to the recording later on. And thank you to Batman for joining us today for this Yap session about communicating
Woo.
with your members. We love communication. Communication is great. Yay!
Yes.
All right.
It's so amazing.
Enjoy the rest of your Thursday or I guess time zones. Maybe it's Friday already where you are. Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye.
doubt the worst pirate I have ever seen.
Gentlemen, milady, you will always remember this as the day that you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow.